Daily Broadside, day 7:45. Last night, against my absolute abject better judgment, I watched Friday the 13th Part 3. It keeps getting worse, okay? I don't know if I can do 4. I could have sworn, 1 through, 5 were decent. They suck. They suck so bad. They suck so badly, I should say. It's an adverb to modify the verb to suck. But here's the deal, right? In Part 2, okay, and first of all, Friday the 13th has taken a page out of Sylvester Stallone's book whereby, a Rocky movie, if it's an hour and a half, there's 28 minutes of replays from the previous movie. That's just how Rocky formula is. You're like, oh, I guess I could have skipped the last movie and just watched the third one because half of the second one's in the third one. Friday the 13th has done that twice, all right? So they update you on what you just watched, which it's not a big deal when you watch them, years apart. But when you're watching them back to back, it's kind of annoying. You're fast forwarding the first 8 minutes. It's just kind of dumb. Anyway, so Jason dies he doesn't die at the end. He gets chopped in the shoulder pretty deeply, I might say. He's down to here with a machete. No more trapezius muscles, right? Those are all gone. But somehow he is fine and doesn't get caught. And you would think all this would make the news in that small community. That, hey, there's a ravaged killer on the loose in the woods and he's out there harming the kids and blah, 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 and all this. And yet people are still flocking to this area because Part 3 is set 2 or 3 days after Part 2. And these people are they're on the other side of the lake, but still, there's a killer afoot, a loose. And they go and they're hanging out at this girl who, by the way, the women in Part 3 are way more pretty. Way prettier than all the other ones. So that's probably the only thing I can say is the casting was really nice. The females are very attractive. Outside of that, there's not much good I can say about this movie. And it is odd how all the people that do these horror movies in the 70s and 80s and all, they don't hardly ever go on to do anything else. They'll just have a string of B movies. And it's weird that you can't break out of that. And I mean, most of them are unknowns when they get hired for the picture, so it's not like they don't know they can't act. It's not like they get in there because they can't act. We need B-level talent. It's not that. They get in as an unknown, and then they just they flounder and don't ever go anywhere. I don't get that. But Jason, 2 days after Part 2, he's back, and apparently his shoulder is healed because he's fine. At the end, he gets hanged, which he's able to grab his rope and pull himself off. Dude looks like he's 6'3", 280. I don't know how he's strong. Nobody's strong enough to do it. Ronnie Coleman can't do that. Jay Cutler can't do that, in their prime. So that doesn't make any sense. And then at the end, of course, his mama, who was beheaded in 1 and her head was on an altar in 2, is somehow now intact as the body and comes out of the lake like her son did in the first one. And I don't know, is this a head trip? I just don't understand sometimes. I just don't understand if Jason's supposed to be some kind of poltergeist, or is he a real man? Is he a visage of your memory? I don't, none of it makes any sense. And again, they could have made such a cool storyline and they flubbed it all up. And I don't appreciate that as a movie goer. But I will say, I apologized to my young son several times during this movie because it was so bad. And then we watched Sleepaway Camp. Hitting all the highlights from the 80s. I hadn't seen Sleepaway Camp in 25, 30 years, and I remembered certain things about it and all that stuff. But I gotta tell you, that was a little cringy. There was a pedophile in the first 4 minutes. The cook, Artie, takes the girl into the meat locker cooler there in the kitchen and tries to essay her, and I'm like, this is really awkward. I mean, she's 13. He's a grown man, and he gets a 200-pound pot of boiling water poured on him and all this stuff. And I gotta tell you, all this time, so we didn't have Wikipedia when I watched this years ago, decades ago. I could have sworn that was a dude playing the role of Angela. Spoiler alert, it turns out to be someone with a penis. I thought that was a real boy at the end, but apparently that was a girl. And she was just wearing a rubber prosthetic there at the end of the movie. Who knew? So anyway, so now I have to stomach the idea of whether or not I proceed with 4, where I think Corey Feldman is in 4. who I met a year ago, about this time a year ago, as I recall. He's gone on to such prominence since then, touring with Limp Bizkit and everything. But I met him when he was a struggling nobody on the Richmond tour circuit. But anyway, that's for another day. Yeah, the movies, they're just bad. And I don't understand why this is such a revered line of, a franchise in the genre of horror, because it's absolutely horrible. Why would you wear a hockey mask when you can't see that well in a hockey mask? Is it you're that embarrassed of your face being all deformed, presumably from the lake waters? None of it makes any sense. And I just want to sit these people down and ask why they make this drivel. Absolute drivel. But anyway, y'all have a good day. Giddy.